I started it.
Nice. All right, guys, so as is written on the board, you're watching Casablanca, 1942. It's set during World War II, so it was being filmed during the war. And I kind of want you to keep that in mind because the outcome of the war wasn't even known. It's before D-Day, really early in the war, so just kind of keep thinking about that. It's going to start with a little introduction about refugees trying to escape Europe. Hitler's Blitzkrieg started in 1939. By 1940, France had fallen. Hitler had taken over pretty much all of Western and Eastern Europe. So people were trying to get out of his way, right? One of the big questions in the film is, who's in charge, right? It's set in Casablanca, which is Morocco. This is the days of colonies, right? So Morocco was a colony of France. France had been taken over by the Nazis. But does that mean the Nazis are in charge of Morocco? Are they in charge of Casablanca, right? Because technically Casablanca is unoccupied France. France itself was occupied by the Nazis. The colonies weren't. So there's going to be a power struggle throughout the whole movie. The police chief, Louis Reynaud, he's in charge of the cops, right? Gets some authority. Is he in charge? The Nazis show up within like the first, second scene. They think they're in charge. Are they? There's a hilarious Italian guy who they keep making fun of because they're kind of like the little brother to Hitler. So I think you'll laugh at the Italian guy. What else do I want to say? Vichy, they're going to make reference to it. Here's a vocab term for you. Vichy France. If you remember from history, when Paris was occupied in June of 1940 by the Nazis, part of the French government fled to this little town in southern France called Vichy, set up a different government. Vichy France was actually a puppet government of the Nazis. So at one point, the police chief's going to say, Germany, I mean Vichy. So that's how synonymous Vichy France was. It's just a puppet of the Nazis. Another name I think you should know is Charles de Gaulle. Right, if you've ever flown into Paris, you fly into Charles de Gaulle International Airport. Charles de Gaulle was the leader of the Free French, the resistance. So the people that didn't cave, like, the rest of the French caved to the Nazis and launched like guerrilla attacks against Hitler throughout the war. And so he's going to be known as, he's going to lead France after World War II, but he's kind of the unofficial leader of France for people that don't want to succumb to the Nazis. So Charles de Gaulle, there's going to be letters of transit issued by General de Gaulle himself. Cannot be questioned, cannot be rescinded. So again, these refugees are trying to get out of Casablanca, trying to get out of Europe. If you have his signature, it's kind of the golden ticket. I really want you to think also, now I used to show this all the time to my AP US history classes, about US isolationism. Because the main character in Casablanca, Richard Blaine, Rick, I think represents the United States of America. And US isolationism, we are no longer isolationistic, right? We can't keep our nose out of anyone's business, even Venezuela, Iraq, Iran, whatever. Back in the day, though, starting with Washington's farewell address, Washington warned against, getting involved in foreign affairs. He said, let our country get stronger. At that time, our population was doubling basically every 24 years. Europe was just war after war after war. And Washington said, luckily we have the Atlantic and ultimately the Pacific to try to insulate us from all these wars. So we had a very much isolationistic tradition in the United States. There were a few exceptions, right? The War of 1812, Mexican-American War, Spanish-American War. But basically, we stayed out of world affairs until World War I. And in World War I, Woodrow Wilson got the United States all hopped up on, we need to make the world safe for democracy. We can make this a war to end all wars. And so the United States got in. What did we get out of World War I? Was it a war to end all wars? What, did it make the world safe for democracy? Right? The Senate didn't even ratify the Treaty of Versailles. So we felt totally screwed over by World War I. And the United States really retreated back into isolationism. Okay, and so that should be clear to you. if you guys were in my class, I'd try to make it more back and forth and have you answer questions, but I really just want to get to the movie. So World War II, most historians say started September 1st, 1939, when Hitler invaded Poland, right? Sorry, I give more of a nod to Asians. You know, I think World War II kind of started around 1939 when Japan invaded Manchuria. That's going to bubble into World War II. So, you know, 1931, 32 with Manchuria, 39 with Poland. When did the United States get in? Not till December 8th, 1941, the day after Pearl Harbor. Why? We were isolationistic. The last time we got involved in a world war, we didn't get what we fought for. So we're like, well, that's Europe's problem, that's Asia's problem. And you're gonna see Rick is very much an American. And he represents this isolationism. They don't say the exact dates of the movie, but we're gonna be in Casablanca for 3 days in December 1941. Rick says something like, Sam, it's December 1941 in Casablanca. What time is it in New York? And so, because we don't know about Pearl Harbor yet, it's got to be December 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th. But we're 3 days in Casablanca. Back to isolationism. Sam answers that question by saying, well, I don't know, my watch stopped. And then Rick goes on to say, I bet they're asleep in New York. I bet they're asleep all over America. And we were asleep. We were ignoring the Holocaust, we were ignoring Blitzkrieg, we were ignoring Japanese atrocities. We wanted to be isolationistic. Most of the movie takes place in Rick's club, Rick's Café American. And guys, this movie is based on a play that was originally called Everybody Comes to Rick's. And you're gonna hear that line very early on, everybody comes to Rick's. So it's pretty cool. Let's see. Back to Rick's isolationism. A few times in the movie he says, and I'm terrible at like impersonations, but I'll try to do Bogart, I stick my neck out for nobody. Where they're like, please help me. He's like, I stick my neck out for nobody. He says that twice. That's the United States? No, we just don't care. At one point, the police chief responds, a wise foreign policy. So in case you don't get it, like they're even saying, look, this is foreign policy we're talking about. Another point, Rick says, Louis, whatever gave you the idea I'd be interested in helping Laszlo escape? You know, why do you think I'd want to get involved? And Rick says, well, at heart, you're a rank sentimentalist. And so you're going to hear a little bit of Rick's background. So there's something you might remember from world history called the Spanish Civil War. The Spanish Civil War, to me, is like a dress rehearsal for World War II. It was the fascists, a fascist leader named Franco, who was supported by Hitler and Mussolini. He wound up winning the war against the royalists, like the people who liked the king, or the loyalists, the people who were loyal to the Spanish government. So Louis says, hey, you ran guns to Ethiopia. So there was a part of Ethiopia, I didn't put it up as a vocab word, Abyssinia. So Mussolini, if you remember, Italy's the southern part of Europe, is attacking Africa. So that's Italy's part of the war even before the Blitzkrieg. And so he took over Ethiopia, Abyssinia. Rick ran guns there, fighting against Mussolini. In the Spanish Civil War, he fought on the side of the loyalists. So Rick used to be anti-fascist. Kind of like the United States used to get involved during World War I, but Rick's like, nah, I got screwed over. Later on, Ilsa, wow, Ingrid Bergman, super hot in this movie. She's gonna say, Richard, if they found out your record, it wouldn't be safe for you here. Meaning they're in Paris, the Nazis are closing in on Paris, and she's like, you gotta get out, because if they know you helped the loyalists against Franco, you know, you might go to a concentration camp. How many people have seen Casablanca? Okay, enjoy it again. I've seen it at least 70 times. Seriously, it's classic. And I think it's important for teenagers. I never let my kids go off to college without having seen it because of all the cultural references you'll see for the rest of your lives based on this movie. Other movies. Woody Allen, famous director, came out with a movie called Play It Again, Sam. Ironically, that's one of the most misquoted lines in the movie. No one ever says, play it again, Sam. Ilsa says, play it, Sam. Rick says, play it. No one says play it again, Sam. TV shows. Like, I was a big fan of Beverly Hills 90210, 10 years, I never missed an episode. They did a whole 90210 on Casablanca. TV commercials, you'll see little Casablanca references. If you're an ice skating fan, I'm not anymore, it's too rigged. But there was a famous Canadian ice skater named Kurt Browning who did the music of Casablanca. He came out in a white tuxedo with a little black tie and skated to Casablanca. It was brilliant. Miss Beget has here that 6 of the quotes. So some of the famous quotes. Here's looking at you, kid. Rick says that 4 times. Oh, I got goosebumps. Here's looking at you, kid. I love it. Oh, I'm crying a little bit too. We'll always have Paris. We'll always have Paris. You're gonna hear this. It's just a reference to this movie. Of all the gin joints and all the towns and all the world, she walks into mine. This sounds familiar. How about round up the usual suspects? Back to movies, there was a movie called The Usual Suspects, based on Casablanca. How about this one? Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of our lives. The problems of 3 little people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world. To me, guys, this is a la Shakespeare. Right, you hear Shakespeare quotes all the time. Parting is what such sweet sorrow, whatever. Same thing with Casablanca. Again, most of the action takes place in Rick's Cafe American. Guys, it's a Hollywood set. It looks like a full-on nightclub. I want you to pay attention to the detail of the intricacy of the club, of the set. Sorry, millennials, it's in black and white. The movie was made in 1942. They could have used color. Certainly color movie was out. Think The Wizard of Oz, 39. Gone with the Wind, 39. Color. They chose black and white to make an artistic statement. Pay attention to the lighting, the reflections, just like some of the close-ups on Ilsa, Ingrid Bergman, the way the light flashes off her jewelry and stuff. It's stunningly just a visual masterpiece to look at. I can't believe it didn't win the Oscar for Best Cinematography. The awards it did win: Best Picture, Oscar for Best Picture, Oscar for Best Director, Michael Curtis. Best Adapted Screenplay, I told you it came from a play called Everybody Goes to Rick's, Everybody Comes. It was nominated for Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Cinematography, it didn't win. Phantom of the Opera. Music, nominated, didn't win. Max Steiner, The Boys and Girls. It's all about Max Steiner, that is your last vocab term. Max Steiner did the music for Gone with the Wind. Got no one? Are you kids in ISIS or something?
Yeah.
The music for King Kong. Ooh, the music for a movie you may have heard of called A Star is Born. No, not Gaga. It's the earlier Star is Born. Max Steiner. A Summer Place. Oh, gorgeous music. Let's see. Miss Beget probably doesn't want me to talk about this, but I will. Sorry, Lael. You probably won't pick up on it until Monday or Tuesday. It takes probably 3 days to get through this movie. There's a little prostitution ring that's going on. Again, people are trying to get out of Europe, and people need letters of transit. One of the people who can get them a letter of transit is Police Chief Louis Reynaud. And so you're gonna see this couple over and over, and I'll point it out a couple times. There's that couple, because the first time you watch it, you don't realize that the same people keep showing up. The woman is eventually going to possibly prostitute herself to get out of Casablanca. You'll catch little lines like, another exit visa matters, and the police chief goes and checks himself in the mirror and goes, ooh, show her in. So that's something that's going on. Guys, I did this for my AP US history final for years. If you teach AP, you have to finish the curriculum before the test, right? That's in May. You don't graduate till June or something, what do? It would be Schmidt's Film Festival. The final block would be Casablanca. When Ishibashi came to Lowell, he shortened the amount that final time was. Guys, I love this movie so much, I made my students come 20 minutes early to the final to watch all of Casablanca. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you're watching a movie for your final. get here early. So with that said, you're welcome. I'm the one who picked this movie for you to watch. Enjoy. We'll stop a little early to answer questions if I follow Miss Baget's advice, but I just want to watch the movie. So make sure you can see, get comfortable. I guess you're supposed to take notes. I'm really excited for those of you who have